Moving to next, we have a marketing maestro who has been instrumental in transforming organizations like Air India and Make My Trip. Mr. Sunil Suresh is a key member of Air India's transformation team. He leads marketing, e commerce, and loyalty initiatives, driving significant change within the organization. With a distinguished career that includes roles as CMO at Make My Trip Group, Capillary Technologies, Yum Brands, and Hindustan Unilever. Mr. Sunil brings a wealth of experience in shaping successful marketing and business strategies. Please welcome Mr. Sunil Suresh with a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So when I saw these images for the first time, they felt strangely familiar. And I don't know whether any one of you here feels that these are familiar, that you've seen these people somewhere before. And then I realized that these images are actually generated by artificial intelligence, right? These are entirely AI generated images. AI processes little bits of images from millions and billions of photos that are available publicly and processes that data and then creates these images. So in some ways, these images actually are familiar, right? Because they're little bits of real people put together. But ultimately, they're not real. So much like AI and the algorithms behind them can generate images, they can also do lots of other things. They can crunch millions and billions of data points and personalize the content that you see on your feed. If you spend time on social media, what you see, there are algorithms behind them sort of determining what you see. They can recommend the next thing that you should be buying. If you're going onto an online e-commerce site, then all of that will have some algorithm behind it. And overall, these algorithms are incredibly powerful. As they process all this data, and as they get more and more powerful, they're going to become more and more important in our world, and they're going to be able to do many, many more things. For instance, if you look at personalization, now companies across the board, they want you to buy more, they want you to engage with the content that they put out a lot more, and that's where algorithms come in. The algorithms can look at your past behavior, look at your clicks, your likes, what you're seeing on the internet, and use their past behavior to predict what you're going to do in the future. So what ends up happening is they try and dictate the content that they show you. They want you to engage with that content. So if you like something, like for instance, you've liked a comedy video in the past, they'll start showing you more and more comedy videos. If you like images of mountains or the outdoors, then suddenly you'll start seeing more of that in your feed. And all of that is being driven by algorithms. Now, this is incredibly powerful, and the intent is to actually make life easier for all of us. It's to make it such that you actually get what you want at that moment. Now, the problem is that the data is not entirely accurate. It's not necessarily complete all the time. And what can happen over time is that each one of us starts seeing the same content appearing in our feed, right? You hear viral videos or viral content. I'm sure all of us have heard of that. The same thing starts appearing in all of our feeds. Now, if you're not careful, that can actually be quite dangerous, because you can get into a situation where you're shown a certain view of the world, and that shapes our perception of what this world looks like. You can be shown very similar content, and you can be shown products that are very similar, and in a way the algorithm ultimately can end up influencing how we think, how we see, how we relate with this world. And what can happen is that in the process, we all get lost in a sea of sameness. And I'm not trying to say that AI and algorithms are bad, right? I think they're incredibly powerful. And like some of the earlier speakers said, adapting to AI and incorporating it can really change the way we solve problems. It can make solving problems faster and better. And I'm a big advocate of actually adopting AI into everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. I think all of us must learn how to use AI to make our lives better. But at the same time, you've got to be aware of the risk of this whole wave of sameness that is there. Now, I, however, believe that it is actually possible to harness this power of AI if you actually are aware of the outcome and the impact of what AI and algorithms are doing in the background. If you look at human beings, as humans, we are all wired to take shortcuts. If you look at this book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, if you get an opportunity, I think you must try and read it. It gives you a very good sense of how the human mind works. And the human mind is such that it actually takes shortcuts. Based on past behavior, based on your past experiences, you tend to actually take shortcuts in decision making. The other book which I put, How Customers Think by Professor Zaltman, that actually showed in research that as much as 95% of the decisions that all of us make are actually subconscious, right? We then justify that decision by thinking up a reason as to why we've taken the decision. Now, when you put the power of algorithms and the recommendations and the personalization that they are making with the fact that we tend to make these shortcuts and then justify those decisions, it can lead to a situation where the algorithms are actually dictating how we behave. And we are not even aware of it. I, however, believe that we have the power to use these algorithms the way they are meant to be used and not end up becoming a slave to these algorithms. How do you do that? Here's the thing, right? I mean, if you look at algorithms, they see all of us as data points. They reduce all of us to our likes, clicks, wants, our behavior. And they use all of that, like I said, to process and predict what we're going to do next. What they are not able to understand, right? They are able to predict what we are likely to do next, what our behavior is likely to be, but the why behind it, the motivation, right? The fears, the desires that each one of us has, that actually makes us human. Now, that's something that programs don't understand. So if you think about an artist, right? You have a favorite song, you have a book that you really love, you have a painting that really speaks to you, that makes you feel something. Now that, to my mind, is the superpower of humanity, right? That's something, that raw power of the human experience, the whole messy human experience as we call it, is not something that any program can understand today. So you've got algorithms that are incredibly powerful, but we have our superpower, which is our humanity. Let's take a look at brands, right? You look at great brands. Now, great brands are incredibly rare, but they're very, very powerful. Let's take the example of Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield is not the most powerful bike, right? It's not the most technologically advanced. It's not the most fuel efficient, but it probably is the most successful bike that is out there. People just love it. And why is that? It's because Royal Enfield is uniquely Enfield, right? The thump of the engine makes you feel something. It appeals to your sense of adventure and exploration. It stands for something. And in a world where most of the bikes are competing on price, on fuel efficiency, on things that are rational, Royal Enfield knows what it stands for, and it is very proudly Enfield, right? And therefore it appeals to people. It had the courage to be different. It had the courage to be original. Now, much like that, I think even for us, it all begins with knowing ourselves. Much like Enfield knew that that's what they wanted to be. They wanted to be a bike which is about exploration, about adventure. What is it that we want to be, right? If you actually dig deep, and think about what is it that actually drives you, what excites you, what makes you scared, what is it that you enjoy doing, and what is it that you don't. You begin to understand yourself. You begin to get a sense of what story you want for yourself. I mean, look at some of these people, right? All of them have excelled in very different fields, have come from very different backgrounds. But I think the one thing that they have common is that they had the conviction to go after something that they felt passionately about. And they were not afraid to work hard, they were not afraid to fail, they were not afraid to actually go out there and make their mark in the world. So, much like that, I think it really begins with our understanding ourselves, defining what we want our story to be. And when we are able to define this story and then have the courage to start living that story, because it's not enough to just tell the story. I mean, people relate to you by what you do, by not by what you say. And if you keep doing what is true to you, then you craft a story that is very distinct, that is uniquely you. In such a situation, the algorithms can keep recommending things to you, can keep showing you content that it thinks it wants you to see, it can keep expecting you to behave a certain way. But you know what? You will have the power at that time to choose not to do that, because you know yourself. You know why you are choosing a certain thing, and you're just pausing for that minute and paying attention to what you're doing. If you're scrolling something and there's some content coming, you can pause and say, hey, you know what? I'm not that kind of a person. I should be spending my time, working on something. It could be science, it could be sports, it could be art. That's what I want to get behind. That's what I want to excel at. That's what I want to work on. And I'm not going to become a slave to the algorithm and get lost in that sea of sameness. So what I'm going to leave you with is find yourself, have the courage and the conviction to craft your own story. You will be in a position where you can hold your own and actually use those algorithms to help amplify your story. You can become uniquely you. Thank you.